Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. Welcome to our Inspiring NM Student Conference, and thank you to the New Mexico Society of CPAs who has partnered with Junior Achievement to bring you this amazing conference. This conference was designed to provide New Mexico students with the opportunity to hear the personal journeys of business professionals in various careers in finance. During the remaining 2 weeks of this conference, we will feature 2 speakers per week, a speaker on Wednesday afternoons at 1 o'clock and Thursday mornings at 10:30. During these events, you will hear our speakers share details about their education, their job, and their career journey, as well as learn some very valuable skills and concepts for your own future economic success. But before we get started, just a few virtual meeting etiquette reminders. This video will be recorded and uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So for anyone who was unable to attend today, you can send that link to them when you receive it. And then at this time, if I could please have anyone on the call type their first and last name into the chat box, that will just help our office and events coordinator keep track of who's on the call with us and the number of students we're impacting. And teachers, if you have students with you on the call, please just let us know how many you have. Please remember that all of our mics should be muted. And during the presentation, you can jot down questions into the chat box, and we will address those during the Q&A portion of the event, and I will facilitate that. Today, we are so excited to welcome Yasmeen, and we are thrilled and honored to have her share her story with you all today. Yasmeen, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yasmeen Abdeljalil. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about credit and what you need to know. I'm also going to give you guys a rundown on who I am, what I do, and how I got here. So here's my fancy little slide that I worked on yesterday and the day before. If you could go fast forward. Okay, thank you. So this is a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Yasmeen. I am a CPA, so a certified public accountant. I think you guys got a little bit of a spiel on what CPAs do about like 2 weeks ago. From a representative from CLA. I'm also a manager at Axiom CPAs. I am a first-generation Arab American, so I was actually born overseas and raised here in the States. And I'm also a fan of hot yoga. Pre-pandemic, of course, I haven't gotten back into it just yet. But yeah, that's a little bit about who I am and what I do. And you can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so I kind of wanted to backtrack and get into your guys' shoes and let you know where I was and what I did in high school. So I went to La Cueva High School, and I remember when I was trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, I kind of struggled with it. I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I thought I wanted to like save people's lives, and then I come to find out like I'm too sensitive for that stuff. I figured that I'd probably be crying, every day after work if it was like rough. And so I ended up talking to some people that are older than me, and business was the route that I ultimately found. But a really important person in this transition and this time of my life was my older cousin. He kind of forced me to enroll in the dual credit program. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the dual credit program. I'm a huge fan. I'm a product of the dual credit program. It essentially is an opportunity for students in high school for them to be enrolled in CNM or UNM. And while you're in high school, you can go after school and take classes at the university and just rack up a bunch of credits. Like during my time when I was doing dual credit, I think I got up to like 64 credit hours and mooched off the state as much as I could, because I don't know how everyone else's, financial situation is and what you guys are, planning for scholarships and grants and everything. I knew my parents didn't have like a college fund set aside. So I was like, gosh, how am I going to pay for this? I don't want to do student loans. Like I really need to get a grip on it because I can't, sustain this like lifestyle that I was doing at that age. And so took advantage of that dual credit program. If you guys have any questions after, like I really would love to help you guys get set up. It's super important for you to take as many classes while you are in high school, especially with things being online, you guys. Like, I really think you could finesse the system and take as many classes as you can since everything is online. And I did that my sophomore and started my summer of my sophomore year, and high school, did a lot of classes my junior, and mostly a lot, like the bulk of my credit hours that I earned was my senior year of high school. And I could visit this page. If Lindsay, would you be able to click on that for me? I just want to show you guys like what the link is. I don't know if you guys are interested in it, but I definitely recommend it. I saved like thousands of dollars just by taking advantage of the dual credit program. So you might have to take, okay, you will have to take your SAT, ACT regardless to get into college, but if you guys are set up to where you've taken it your junior, maybe even your sophomore, like end of sophomore summer, the summer of sophomore year, you could totally use that as part of your admission into the dual credit program, or you could even take the AccuPlacer at CNM and UNM, and they can place you in these classes.
So it's saying that I need a login from Microsoft.
Never mind.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. You can
I
go
can
back
find it and put it in the follow-up email to all the teachers and stuff.
Yeah, do that, please. Thank you. Okay, sweet. So I gave you guys my spiel on dual credit. Really recommend it. Okay, and then I went to the University of New Mexico, as I was saying in my dual credit slide. Graduated a year early because of the dual credit program. So I was able to like jumpstart my career at like 21 and start making the big bucks because I had graduated early and did all my work up front in high school and, you know, grinded it out in college. I got my BBA in accounting and enjoy the time that you guys do have in college because it will go by real quick. Okay, and the next slide, please. Okay, so I just talked about college, how I got my bachelor's in business administration. I remember being in one of my college classes, and it was like a networking class. It was super awkward and like just not fun because those are things that people don't like talking about, especially like in college. And my professor made us he made us make an account on LinkedIn. And so for those of you guys that don't know what LinkedIn is, but it's like a social network for professionals. And so it's like starting all over on social media, but it's for professionals. And so you know, you're going to post a photo, you're going to have like an image where it says who you are, what you do. You can pretty much stalk anybody that's like older than you if you want to find out what, you know, Mrs. Johnson down the street does. If you have her first and her last name, you probably could find out who she is on LinkedIn. And so I'll tell you why LinkedIn's important if you go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so I kind of set it up to where I'm showing you guys some screenshots of some DMs that I got from some really important people in my professional network. So here, if you guys look, in 2015, I got a message from this older friend of mine who I think of her as a mentor, someone that was actually the reason why I kind of became a CPA. She sent me a message and told me, hey, I found an internship for you, but I texted you, couldn't find your number. Long story short, I remember I'd run into this person all the time at Starbucks, and every time I'd run into her, I'd ask her, like, you're super funny, you're really smart, like, what do you do again? And she had told me that she was a CPA, and I joked about it, and I was like, gosh, maybe one day I'll be a CPA. A couple years later, when I'm in college, turns out I actually wanted to be a CPA. And she had remembered that I said that, and she found an internship for me. And till this day, like, I'm super grateful for this person because she placed me at my current employer. It's been like 6 years and I'm still at this company. So she did a really good job. And I try to mimic her in like my personality and like stuff like that because I had thought all CPAs were like this person. And she was also going to be my client one year. And it was just really cool to kind of go full circle and get to reconnect with her. And it's just, you guys, if you work hard and be like nice to people that are older than you, you never know like how they can help you. And this is an example of how Anne really helped me out in my career. You could go to the next slide. Thank you. So I kind of touched on about what I do. I mean, I didn't really tell you guys what I do as an accountant or a CPA, but I'm going to tell you like the highlights of what I've done as a CPA and essentially some of the stuff that we get to work on. So long story short, as an accountant, you're like responsible for helping summarize, activity, like profit and losses, how much money an organization made, how much it lost. That's a bad year. And you're supposed to like present these reports and tell everybody like the company's story. And so some of the things that I've gotten to do as an accountant, that's like, something that's super lightweight and like good for this conversation is, I have clients from all different industries, and that's something that keeps me like very happy in my job because I'm not doing the same thing every day, contrary to popular belief. But some of the clients that I've gotten to work on, and so essentially as an accountant as well, like you can't just like prepare these reports without knowing what the client does, or like you have to have more of a relationship with the client and understand their operations. And so part of that means sometimes you have to go on these tours that take all day, and they're really fun, like I'll tell you. So my number one spot is Spaceport America. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but it's like an airport for spaceships, and that was like my client, and I absolutely top client that I've ever worked on. But I got to tour their facility. I got to see where Virgin Galactic, has their spaceships. They pretty much launched spaceships out of that location that I'm showing you right there in that photo. I've worked on jewelry manufacturer, so I kind of got to see the beginning process, like 3D printing. Like we had the CFO there give us a tour of how it goes through it goes through 3D printing, molding, people melting gold and silver while we're watching. And then I had a tortilla company. So I've had people, we saw the huge tortilla machine. They make so much money. It's a good time, especially in New Mexico. I had a military school where, I'm not going to say who made the students do this, but we had like a sergeant made some students give us like, 20 push-ups just because we were the accountants. And then I've got a tour for jail, just even worked on the governor's office 1 year or 2 years in a row. So just some of the things that I got to do as an accountant. Okay, and then flashback to 2018. So about 3 years ago, I got my CPA license, which essentially allows for me to practice and say I'm a CPA. Just wanted to show you guys like my little ceremony, and this test, I'll show you guys what you have to do for you to become a CPA on the next slide. Okay, so sweet. So this is what I am, a CPA. It's kind of like a lot of stuff that you have to do to get to where I am today. You have to have worked for a CPA for at least a year. You have to take a couple of tests, like 4. So after college, you do as many tests as you do. And then you're never really done with school. You still have to do more and more work after graduation. So I was just going to tell you guys, like, you have to take a test called Financial Accounting and Reporting, and then Business Environment. So there's going to be 4 exams. Hopefully you pass and you guys get it over with. And then, and this is also, so you have a CPA, and then I had some friends that became CFAs, and those are things that you guys licenses you can work towards after graduation. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so kind of give you guys a little rundown on who I am, what I do. And so now I'm going to talk to you all about credit and why it's important. So credit is a trust that lets people give you things like goods, services, or money to other people in hopes that they will repay later on. So here I included some credit cards because that's just going to be like an easy visual so you guys know what I'm talking about. We're talking about credit cards essentially, and the credit bureaus. So we have Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Those are like the 3 major credit bureaus that kind of help facilitate the whole idea of credit. You can go to the next slide, please. Awesome. Okay, so here is kind of like a range of what a score is. So for the credit score, you have like 300 is the absolute worst. You have 630, which is fair, and then you have 690 to 719, which is pretty good. And then you have all the way up to 720, which is excellent. So I think I've fallen to the good category. I bought a car that I probably shouldn't have. And so I think I fell under knocked me down just a little bit when I bought that car. But we'll kind of talk to you guys about why it's important to maintain your credit score. And like, you can get started if you are like 16, 17, 18. And yes, and I'll tell you guys also what it means, or like why it's a benefit for you to have good credit. Next one. Okay, so how can I check my credit? If you're asking me, how can I check my credit? Nowadays, honestly, you could check it on your phone. Back in my dad's day and like some of my older cousins, like you really had to do this extraneous process online. You had to pay money to like pull your credit. And back in the day, they would even ding you for checking on your own credit, if I'm not mistaken. So nowadays you can download Credit Karma. Like I'm pretty sure I have my Credit Karma app, and all you have to do is put in your Face ID and you can check to see what's happening with your credit, get a real-time score of what's happening with your credit. So I was going to show you guys, like, this is kind of the screenshot from my account, or not my account, but just an account. And you can see, like, you can click and see all the different things that is incorporated in it. And then you can even apply for credit cards now on these apps, which is awesome. They'll even tell you what you'll likely be matched with, which saves you a little bit of research. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so things that you can do, and I recommend that you do after this conversation, is ask your parents if you can become an authorized user. What that means is you'll have a credit card with probably like a limit. If I were your parents, I wouldn't give you more than like $100 or $200 monthly credit limit just to get your feet wet, and like as an allowance, you can do this. So instead of like taking your parents' credit card, you would actually have a credit card that has your name, but their information, essentially. Like the CC, the credit card number would be theirs, the expiration would be their expiration as well. Like for example, I'm at the point now where my mom is an authorized user. I've given her access, so if she wants to buy anything nice, like she can use my card every once in a while. Should cap that, but that's okay. Definitely start by opening up a checking account if you don't have one now. I know it's like pretty hard for you guys to find a job right now, but when things kind of open up and restaurants are hiring and cafes are, you know, getting back to the hustle and bustle, I definitely recommend that you find a job, and that way you have a source of income and you can fill that, start putting money into that checking account. And then apply for a student credit card. Discover is really good about this. Wells Fargo is pretty good if you already have like an account with them. I think they'll give you like a $300 credit limit, which is really, that's where I started. And what I mean by credit limit is that's as much money as the bank or, you know, the institution will extend for you. So like some people have credit limits of like 14, 20,000 or 100,000, and like the more successful you are in maintaining your credit, the greater your limit is. And then let's see. This is like a true story. Don't max out your $300 credit limit on the first day. My cousin did this. Like her dad advised her to start building her credit, and so she went and applied for a credit card, got approved right away. On the first day, she went and maxed out her card because she thought that's what she had to do to, like, you know, increase her credit limit. They took it away from her. So don't max it out on the first day, okay? Pay your bills on time. Also, avoid the minimum payments because that's like, they're tricking you into thinking you only owe $25, you know, but you really owe as much as you spent. So don't pay those minimum fees. Try your best to get that current balance out of the way. And then when you're checking your credit report, make sure there's no outstanding collections because that will hurt your credit big time. And so if you have any bills that you owe people, like you need to make sure that you didn't sign up for that. And then spend on your credit card when you get it, and then hide your debit card. Do not use your debit card because you get no rewards, nothing. And I'll explain that in the next slide. Okay, so here's like the debit versus credit, kind of showing you guys the pros and cons of a debit card, which has, you know, access to your checking account. It's real-time money. If you have $100 in your debit card and you go to Starbucks and spend $6, you know, it's right away. With your credit card, you go to Starbucks, you can pay it later in like a month. So credit cards, they give you rewards and cash back. Like if you have an Apple card, they'll give you up to 3% cash back, which is pretty cool. It's actually safer for you to use a credit card because of, you know, fraud. You have better coverage. The bank will, you know, give you your money back if you essentially, if it's a credit card and someone steals your credit card information, it's pretty easy to get your money back. Like I've had my younger brother, he like saved my debit card on his like PlayStation 4 or something, and his account got hacked. And so I saw some charges for like Grand Theft Auto. It was like $400. And back in the day, that was like my entire life savings. And so I begged my Bank of America to refund me my money. But because it was on my debit card, it was like super hard for them to, it took like maybe 2 months for me to get my $400 back. I promise you, if that was my credit card and I had told them that my account got hacked, this isn't me, immediately they would have refunded me. But your debit card, they give you a hard time because it's real time, they take it out, and it's just safer to use a credit card when you guys get them. The only bad thing about credit cards, you might go crazy and start spending money you don't have. But if you're pretty strict on yourself, you guys can say, okay, I do recommend having whatever you're spending on your credit card in your, checking account. But it's just like all about balancing and the timing of when you're making those payments. So just don't go crazy and spend all the money you don't have. Also, interest is a pain. And I have a card where my interest rate is like 22%, even though I have pretty good credit. So like they're just trying to find ways to make money off you. But if you avoid those minimum payments, then you probably won't need to pay interest. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so here's a credit report, a little screenshot of it. And remember that rating that I told you guys where you would land? So that score, like 723, is pretty good in my opinion. Some of the things that's going to present for you is your mortgage. If you have a mortgage, how much money do you owe on your house? If you have a car loan, it'll tell you how much you owe on your car. It'll give you a summary of your credit cards. It'll tell you, like, I think my first credit card was Bank of America, and then my second one was like Banana Republic. And so it would list out my Banana Republic card and how much money I owed on it. I will say, when you guys are applying for credit cards, be like very picky with what you're choosing, because every time that you apply for a card, they're going to do this thing called, it's going to have a hard inquiry. And that's something that lasts on your report for like 2 years. And it shows that you applied for something. And it kind of hurts your credit score. Like, you don't want to see too many hard inquiries. And that comes with any application for a loan. When I bought my car, they hit my, they hit my credit, and then it showed up as a hard inquiry. It's kind of touched a little bit on that credit limit. The higher, the better. It just means that you are trustworthy and that you will pay that money back that you're essentially borrowing for that 2-3 week period. It'll also tell you collections, which I talked about. Like, if you went to the doctor and you didn't pay them and they have your name, like, they will find you and they will hit your credit report. It'll also tell you payment history. So it'll tell you what was on, they have every single payment that you've made to any, institution. If you're late, like 3 or 4 or 5 days, then it could show up that you make late payments. And then the age of your credit. So like, I think I got my credit card when I was 16. So I think I have like 9 years of credit history. I might, if I'm doing the math right. Yeah. So that'll also tell you how long you've been, a trustworthy individual with credit. Next slide, please. Awesome. So why should you guys care about credit? So like I was saying, I'll give you an example for me. When I had bought my first car, I think I was like 20 years old. I don't know how they extended credit to me at that age, but I don't even think I had a good source of income either. But when I had applied for my car loan, they had asked me, tons of questions. They're like, can you pay this off? Can you afford this monthly payment? Probably couldn't have at the time. I don't know how I finessed that. But what I'm saying is that that first car loan I got, I think my interest rate was 7%. So although I was driving like a Mazda, it felt like I was, paying for a Volvo or something much nicer because of how much my interest was. It was like $50, $60, $70 on top of my, principal payment that I could have avoided if I just had better credit at that time. And so even like, we'll talk about a bigger thing is like home loans. When you guys end up wanting to buy a house, like even if you have the same income as your friend next door, if they have better credit than you, they're going to get a better deal. And it could cost you money, which is just so unfortunate, which is why you guys should take care of your credit and make sure, you do everything you can to start early and just build on it. Okay, and then last thing I'll close out with is, I think I was like 20. Okay, I said I was 20 years old. Yeah, the thing is after I bought my car. Thank goodness, because that would have been really traumatic. But when you guys are building your credit, because you are super young, like they're ready to take advantage of you. Because on the night of the election, I had found out, in 2016, I found out that, someone went to Walmart and like bought like $400 worth of things. And then I found out like credit cards were being opened up at Lowe's. I had checked my Credit Karma that night, and like out of nowhere, at that point in my life when I was like that old, I didn't check my Credit Karma ever. But for some reason that night I was like really bored watching it. And I checked it, and thank goodness I checked it, because I like stopped. I mean, it took forever to clear out my name, and I had to put freeze my account for like 7. Long story short, Credit Karma, those little apps that I was talking about, it really is important for you. Once you have a name, you should check on that a lot, because you'll find things that could be fraudulent. And that's what I did, and was on the phone with, tech support for hours, and they didn't even believe that it was me. They didn't even believe that I was Yasmeen Abdeljalil. And so I was like super frustrated. But anyway, that's my little spiel on identity theft. And yeah, I think there's one more slide. Oh no. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys on credit and who I am. Kind of feel like I went by real fast, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Yasmeen. We're going to move into the Q&A portion of the event. So if there's anybody who has questions at this time, feel free to type them into the chat box and I will facilitate that. But right now, what we'll do is we'll start with some questions that were asked during our registration. So the first one I want to ask you is, what is the best advice you've ever received?
For you to, okay, well, best advice I've received. I used to be like super self-conscious about my age, because I was, generally speaking, the youngest person in the room, which is fine. It's actually recommended. And that was the best piece of advice, is if you're the dumbest person there, like do not, if anything, you should be the stupidest person there, because you want to absorb as much information as you can from your peers and your people that are much older and smarter than you. So that was the best piece of advice, is like, make sure you're the dumbest person in the room.
Excellent. What is the easiest and hardest part of your job?
Oh man, the easiest part of my job. I don't know, you guys. Sometimes it's really hard, but it is rewarding. So like the easiest part is, the client relationships. I think I have a great time speaking to my clients and, asking them how their day was, how their kids are, what they've been up to. So that's like an easy part, is like the communication with clients. And then the hardest part is like drafting some of these reports when there's like new things going on or a disposal of an entity. So that's pretty hard once you get to the drafting of the reports for these banks and creditors and stuff like that.
Thank you. What do you love the most about your job?
I love it. Well, I really enjoy my little office setup. due to Corona, they decided to like put me in an office. And that's been the best thing ever. But no, in all seriousness, I really enjoy the interactions, and although accounting doesn't seem like it's a social thing, it really is a very social career. You get to work with people, not just, entities, but you get to work with people and get to have some insight on their day-to-day operation and make some pretty big business decisions.
Excellent, thank you. Have you ever had any hardships that you would be willing to share as a young woman in your career?
Oh, man. Yeah, I have. It's kind of funny, now, but, I've had somebody in the professional world ask me, if I was a good Muslim or a bad Muslim. I've had an older gentleman walk in and ask me if I don't even know how much I could probably talk about this. It's kind of funny, but I had somebody ask me, they were like, hey, I need to talk to one of the accountants. And I was like, oh yeah, hi, how can I help you? They're like, aren't you a little too young to be an accountant? And I was like, no, but I can still help you with whatever your question is. So like, they're not hardships, they're funny. Like, I kind of laugh at all of it, and I take that as an opportunity to like, represent the industry, represent like my culture, I take that as an opportunity to like educate everyone around me, and keeps it like kind of light. So those are some things that and then studying for the exam while you were working full time kind of was hard, but you just drink a lot of caffeine and you can make it.
Excellent, thank you. Has there ever been a time when you messed up or you failed at work, and how did you recover?
Yeah, no, tons of mess ups. Feel bad for my boss sometimes. I'm just kidding. He does a great job of training me. Yeah, no, I've messed up on a couple of things. But you know what? You learn the most from them, and that's kind of, I jot these things down every time there's a report, and I get comments back, or I get feedback. It's honestly better than not getting feedback. If you think you're super smart and you're just like cruising through your job, something bad is like gonna happen eventually. So it's pretty good to get feedback and like make sure that you are doing things. If you are doing things wrong, you're doing them wrong. So I'm very grateful to have that like supervision and education time.
Excellent. I want to give the opportunity to anybody to unmute and ask a question. There's no questions currently in the chat box, but I want to give that opportunity now. All right. So the last question that I want to go on is if you could just kind of touch on your day-to-day. What does the day-to-day of your job look like?
So pre-corona, I would most likely be at a different client site. For every week of the month, I would be at a specific job site. I'd be there in person. I'd be, asking and inquiring of my clients, like what current events are, what's happened to the business or the government agency. Now I'm actually working from the office, and there's a lot of phone calls and a lot of, sharing documents electronically. I do a lot of math, but not like super crazy, algebra or I don't remember what the other algebra was. What was the other algebra I'm thinking of, Lindsay? What's like even worse than algebra? What was like calculus? There's nothing like that. It's not like calculus or anything, but it's math. That's simple, but it's like a puzzle, and it's kind of like drafting these reports and giving these numbers for the tax department, to find out how much money you owe taxes, or for a bank when they want to find out if you're like a good company, should I loan this person money? I will help draft reports that will say, hopefully, yeah, this is a good company, you can't trust them, they will pay you back, or stuff like that. So just a lot of reports, but a lot of social stuff too. Like we used to have holiday parties and all that fun stuff, and coffee breaks and stuff like that. So kind of what I did.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, since there's no questions coming into the chat box, we're going to wrap up. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you so much, Yasmeen, for sharing your knowledge, and students, we really hope that you enjoyed the program today. But before we log off, just a few announcements. So following the presentation, you'll be asked to complete a post-program mindset survey. By completing the survey, you'll be entered into a chance to win a gift card. So please make sure that you send the links to your students, teachers, if you're on the call. And we do pick a new winner each session. So please make sure you keep filling out those surveys each week. And then lastly, please join us tomorrow as we welcome Sunny Shields from State Farm. Sunny will be helping us understand insurance and risk management. So keep an eye out for the follow-up email, as well as the email to register if you haven't registered already. So thank you, Yasmeen, and to everyone on the call. I hope to see you all tomorrow. And thank you again, Yasmeen. You were fantastic.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.